Thank you so much for joining. I'm Ashumi. I'm the founder of Future Plus, and I'm super excited today to be joined by Ismail, the founder of TRAME Paris, Harold, who is from BDAC, and Linda, who is an artist who is joining us. And we're really excited to be talking about art blocks and the Marfa Weekend that just happened. And Ismail is going to talk about the 3 incredible exhibitions that he presented there, along with Dounia's work that was also presented there, something that has been in the works for a little over a year. So excited to get right into this conversation. It would be great if you could all introduce yourselves as well, and then we can talk a little bit more about what we're going to be discussing today.
Sure. So my name is Ismail Tazi. I am the co-founder of TRAME. TRAME is about on-chain, off-screen art and design. So digital provenance combined with physical pieces. And we continue the conversation between technology and craftsmanship.
Beautiful. That was so succinct. I'll jump in. My name is Harold Hughes. I'm one of the co-founders of the Black Digital Art Collective. We are a DAO that is inspired and brought together with our mission to collect Black art, to emphasize the importance of Black art, and to promote our creators and artists that we've collected, which I wanted to jump in real quick because Linda is one of those artists. And so it's so awesome to be able to see not only the work that she does, but the work that she's doing to continue to leverage the technologies that we're seeing. And so that's one of the reasons we got started. And we're thankful to be backed by Andreessen Horowitz Cultural Leadership Fund. And so we're excited to be here.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Linda. I'm an artist based in Dakar, Senegal. I also am from here. I work with physical and digital mediums, kind of everything that has to do with algorithms and AI, and merging that with the physical and the analog is, I guess, one I've been very excited about over the last couple of years and doing the most.
Super exciting. And I'm really, I've been such a fan of your work, Linda, as well, since, like I was saying, I love the process, and I love the visuals, and I love how you sort of combine all of that together, and more, so just to kind of tee up how we're going to talk about what was presented in Marfa, Ismail, it'd be great to sort of understand how you brought these artists together. I believe you went on a very incredible trip all around Morocco last year, and took them on a journey, and how you selected the craft that they worked with, tie up with their art as well. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. So I am born and raised in Morocco, so in Fez in particular, which is a city that is 12 centuries old, is the capital of crafts, capital of cuisine. Harold, you should visit at some point. And yeah, to me, it's important that we also show the craftsmanship in Morocco and continue this conversation between technology and craft, in particular code. I wanted to create a bridge that not only celebrates the diverse artistic expression, but also brings inspiration to the youth across our continent. Africa is often on the margins of rapid technological advancement and cultural shifts. And I think it was important to us, with the support of Black Digital Art Collective, to take the mic. Linda, Junior, and Itzel did it really, really well, and show what we're capable of, and also inspire the youth to take the mic as well. And the beauty of technology is democratization, and the beauty of code is, it takes a keyboard. Everyone has a laptop, and you can teach yourself online. So yeah, I think this collection is very, very important and personal to me, and very excited about the outcome and what we've been able to do. Very, very proud.
Great. And you just showcased in Marfa, in the desert, the tapestries. Yes. Looked perfectly, beautifully at home.
Amazing.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Yes. So we did a trip to Morocco, introduced the artists to various crafts. They picked their craft of choice. And then the idea initially was to exhibit in a fair, but then in an art fair. But then Marfa made a lot of sense, because given where the generative art market is, etc. Like Marfa is a pilgrimage. It's a yearly pilgrimage for generative art collectors, for art blocks enthusiasts. It's truly a place where it's about the art. If you are in Marfa in November, you care about the art and you wanna dive into it. The conversations are so interesting, and to me, like this conversation between deserts in Texas, the desert in Morocco, and so on. It was something that is quite powerful, and that was interesting to the artists as well. So that is why we picked Marfa, and I think we as a point to start. So the idea is to reveal and to show them what we've been prototyping and working on there, and then take these collections to various fairs afterwards. So it really made sense to show this to the niche, I would say, generative art enthusiasts in Marfa.
So sorry, can I just to did you already know that you were going to showcase in Marfa when you put this together last year?
No.
So then my question actually to Linda would be, because you've worked on the pieces that are inspired by both deserts in some sense, right? The Moroccan Sahara, and it also fits quite well with the sort of like West Texas desert landscape. What was your creative process when you were like thinking about, how to sort of blend these two very varied desert landscapes into this digital art and tapestry?
Yeah. So the Sahara Desert actually stretches from Morocco all the way to Senegal. And so it's my backyard, basically. I grew up with, the arid landscape and the sand dunes and the sandstorms, and it's very evident in the color choice that it's really the color of the earth and how it changes over the seasons. And it's definitely inspired by a desert because that's kind of the landscape we have here in Dakar as well. So the parallel between that and being in Morocco, being in the Medina overlooking this like very similar landscape, and also just seeing how the view looks so similar also in Marfa. I think it was just kind of serendipity in that sense. And there's also another central motif in the collection that I'm showing here, which is the staircase. And it's the staircase that I used to take from downstairs into my grandparents' house because they were on the first floor. And that's really what I wanted to bring out. It's like a lot of my work, especially in the last year, has definitely been about architecture and how architecture interacts with natural environments and how there's a kind of identity for each place. And, even within the country, there's like multiple architectural identities and how they interact with their environment that makes a place special and memorable. And so for me, it was about bringing a piece of home. And the desert is obviously the backdrop there.
Yeah, and all your work is it just seems to have quite like a deeply personal story behind it, like something that you take from your own home, like your own backyard, like you say. And it's just so fascinating how you actually create code with that in such a creative way and then craft that into these beautiful digital art pieces. It's incredible. Harold, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how, the work that you do with with the art, the Black Digital Art Collective. How do you see events like Marfa, the Art Blocks event that happened in Marfa, in really sort of amplifying the work that Black artists are doing and give them like a voice and a visibility and a platform?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that first off, I think that the event was beautiful. And so I want to give a big congratulations to Ismail and the entire TRAME team. It was my first time being in Marfa. And so flying from Houston to El Paso, renting a car and driving from El Paso to Marfa to stay in, what did I stay in? A casita. Like it was just an entire thing where I got to unplug and really lean into it. And then you think about the backdrop of us having a super moon, and then it's a sunset, and our works are out in the desert. I think it was beautiful. But to specifically get to our mission and where we saw the importance of us being in Marfa, we think that events like that should have more Black artists. We think that everywhere that there is art, everywhere that there is creativity, there are people with unique perspectives that likely aren't getting the attention or the recognition that they should have. And so part of our mission in starting the DAO was not only to find, the staples, the signatures, the ones who you have to have one of their pieces in your collection, but also how do we find that next generation of artists, and how do we make sure we're giving them the platform to do so? And so, we're fortunate to have caught Linda in the middle of her journey, and she's continuing to ascend, but she's no newbie to this. But we remember when we first started this program, we gave an artist a grant to get him a laptop so that he could start getting into generative art. And now here we are 2 years later, he's going to be showcasing at our event in Art Basel using generative AI to create his pieces. And so we understand the investment in art isn't just about flipping and holding and reselling. It's about understanding the impact that the culture has when you see it in the ways that we're able to promote it. And so we're excited about Marfa. We hope that we can do it again next year. Ismail, if we're doing it, let's run it back. And of course, we're going to be kicking it off again in Basel in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's incredible. Actually, that was my next question, which was, how do you, of course, I've seen all of the works that are in your portfolio. Judine, who couldn't join our call today, has always kept me updated with the incredible work that you have been doing. So what is the sort of extension that you provide? What is the sort of extension on the support that you provide the artists, the showcasing, the grants?
Yeah, for sure. So it definitely starts with the fact that our members of our DAO, and for those who don't know what a DAO is, just think of it as a buying group, right? All of our dollars are not meant for each of us to get rich. Actually, none of us are paid. This is all volunteer work. And so the money that we put into this is really meant to collect the art. And once we have collected the art, it's from there saying, where can we showcase this art best? Where can we bring this artist into a partnership? Or how can we connect this artist with this new technology? And in this case, is generative AI. And so being able to partner with different organizations, for example, Civitai AI, and giving artists the resources, whether it's grants, whether it's buying their works as close to them as possible. We don't want to go into a big bidding war because we're still a nonprofit and still trying to bootstrap our way into having a bigger war chest. But for now, we want to have relationships with artists so that we can buy as close to direct to them, put money in their pocket, and also be a proud collector. And so there's lots of different ways that we're able to support, but it definitely starts with collecting that piece, connecting them with technology, and making sure they have opportunities to showcase their work in person or virtually.
Incredible. And Ismail, so, I know you've said that, of course, these exhibitions specifically were very deeply personal because Desert Thread specifically as an exhibition, is very much rooted in your background and being Moroccan. But how do you think that sort of extends into and resonates with audiences across culture?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a beautiful artwork that should resonate with everyone. And to us, what I'm trying to do is, show how we can make beautiful things that are at the forefront of innovation, of the intersection of art and technology to the youth. And something that is very important that Harold said is empowering. So unlike others where, it's about buy, sell, hold, like traditional approach, what we try to do is also empower, enable, share the information. And I think that's extremely important. I mean, obviously we do this for our continent, but it's duplicable everywhere. And we hope that we can inspire everyone, because there is a cultural revolution that is ongoing and people do not even know this. That's, for me, is the first hurdle. Is about information. People do not have access to the same information. Right. And that is the first hurdle. And the second one is about, okay, I have the information, I want to do something, so I need a laptop. BDAC comes in play. And then I want to exhibit, I want to discover Moroccan craft, comes in play. So, but the first hurdle is about information, the lack of information. And this is really something that is important. We need to give visibility to this medium, and we need to give visibility to this art in order to share the information that there is something ongoing here, a new territory with its own collector that is, much less snob, much more open, more inclusive, and where everyone can embrace, and that is what we're trying to do for all audiences.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of almost like a holy trifecta of sorts, right? Because you have to pair the artist with the medium, and or the artist picks the medium, but then you also have incredible DAOs and collectives like the Black Digital Art Collective, who are supporting and amplifying and giving a voice and a platform to all of this. So yeah, this is just so great. I would love to sort of understand a little bit more about the other exhibitions also that you presented. I think there was this was one of the other two were as well.
Yeah, sure. So one exhibition was with the A.A. Murakami, who's also known in the traditional design world as Studio Swine. The exhibition name was 1,000 Layers of Stomach. It's inspired by a restaurant in Hong Kong, and especially the miso soup, where whenever Alex would pick an Azari clam shell, he would see a different pattern, a unique pattern. So that inspired him and his wife. And he did some research and discovered that there is a mathematician that actually built an algorithm that mimics this pattern. And he saw the various application of this algorithm. One is textile, was in ink, and one is 3D printing. So we picked textile, and the idea is that we allowed the audience there to tweak the parameters, and then we had a in situ knitting machine that knitted the output IRL, and then the goal is to knit 1,000 outputs, and this is going to be a collection that is going to also tour the world in a kind of institutional tour. It starts in Marfa, and then it's going to go to Hong Kong, to Dubai, to Berlin, and other places. And whenever you see the artwork, you're going to see a different output. It's going to be like an autonomous clam that is traveling the world and then knitting as you see it travel. So that was really, I was very happy to bring this to Marfa. And then another project was really this CryptoPunks mirrors, where we made these punks in handmade Venetian glass against it was phenomenal. It was truly beautiful. The first time it was for Snowfro, of course, and then we made a few others for some close friends and people we knew. So the idea was also about these punk mirrors is to start the conversation at a place that the CryptoPunks deserve, because usually whenever you want to talk about CryptoPunks, you pull your phone and you're like, this is an ape, this is an alien, this is a zombie. Like you quickly lose interest right there. Whereas when you have these big mirrors, these beautiful mirrors, when I exhibited them the first time in Paris in February, even my friends who didn't know anything about Web3, anything about the punks, were super interested in knowing more, because it was a beautiful piece as is, and that starts the conversation about punks from a good place.
And
these are the
I say something to add to that, and I'd love to get Linda's thoughts on it, because as a new art collector, y'all, like I'm still a baby art collector. I've got a couple of pieces in my home, and I'm definitely an appreciator of art. I would imagine that as an artist, there's a way that you want your art to be viewed and experienced and consumed, and so I don't know if when you were making it, you had the visual, the motif of like how it was going to be experienced that we did in Marfa. But obviously the CryptoPunks didn't think when they made this, 8-bit or 16-bit digital, that it was going to be handmade on this Venetian glass and sat in the sun. And so I thought it was beautiful. Even listening to Ismail recapping it doesn't quite do it justice. I wish we could show some videos, but I wasn't sure if you had any thoughts, Linda, on the intentionality and seeing your art in that space and how that translates for you.
Yeah. So I guess we talked about the themes that we wanted to approach. I had some sketches that I had coming into the experience in Morocco. At first it was going to be flowers and it was going to be ceramics, and we all just fell in love with the tufting and weaving. And I think there's like a beautiful parallel there between weaving as like one of the earliest form of computing, because it the jacquard loom actually uses binary code. And also, just if you look into African, like ancient African weaving practices, there's a lot of mathematics that actually directly translates to how we think about code today. And yeah, for me, it was about, I was actually less concerned with how the output would look digitally. I wasn't expecting to make something beautiful for the screen. I wanted that to be the instruction. So to me, like the digital work feels like almost like the punch card for a knitting machine, right? It's like your blueprint, because it really comes together in the knitting process and the tufting process where you have like various depths. That's when this staircase actually like comes through. And yeah, I think making it with the idea that it was going to be physical was a different process. I'd never done that before. I had done stuff with digital that would then be printed, but I never thought to make a blueprint for something physical. And I think that was a really fun process for me, and something that I've continued to explore in other ways as well. I've actually gotten a lot of like knitting and weaving equipments in my studio now. I'm experimenting with that on my own too.
Keep us posted.
For sure. So yeah, I think the physical here is really the art, right? Like that relationship between code being instruction and the physical being what is worth looking at, where the beauty lies. I think that was a very different approach, and I think I also fell in love with that. And I think it's funny because you would think of like code and computing as like the death sentence on like crafts, but it really isn't. People have used like instructions to make physical things, physical objects for like ever. To me, it's like they've always complemented each other, and it's really nice to see that relationship being revived in this space as well, and for people to like see start to appreciate like physical objects as well. I think it also gives us artists like a lot more to explore and a lot more to like experiment with, which like enriches our practice. Yeah.
That's so. Sorry, Ashumi. I just had that come up after.
Oh, please! I really do want this to be a much more sort of organic conversation. I'm really just a facilitator. I really wanted to bring all three of you together to just converse and discuss. And this is an open forum, so please do not ever feel sorry. I did have actually a question for Linda that just came up when you were talking about your process and the different like code that you use, because just to kind of the previous exhibition that you just did as well, you use GAN. I don't want to get too technical, but I know that what is the difference with the different kinds of creative code that you use, if you're going into something physical versus if it's something as a still image versus if it's something that is potentially a video output?
Yeah, so the flower projects is like actually explores a whole bunch of different AI tools. So it starts with a GAN, then it uses diffusion models like text to image, image to image, text and image to image. Like it was really about experimenting with all of the newer models that were being released over the years as I was doing this project. And every time I use the same instruction, the same training data in order to make something just like a refreshed version of what existed before. So that's all mostly, like AI unsupervised algorithms. Like there's very little coding involved in that because you set it up once and you're fine. But then with this particular project, it's all P5. So it's funny. I want to use the phrase like hand coded. There's no black box involved. Like you're actually writing everything yourself. So that's kind of the main difference. I guess I'm very multidisciplinary. I got my introduction into computer, art through design and through like designing interfaces for websites and apps. And so the little coding I knew came from there. And then I realized that you could just use code instead of making website, you could use it to make art. And then that's how I discovered P5 and started doing that. But I think that exploration is kind of very different from like my exploration in AI because it's a whole different language as well. It's mostly Python. And it's like almost like two different brains, like in terms of how you approach each one. But recently I've been having fun actually mixing the two, hugely inspired by Emily Z's newest collection where she actually just mixes everything together. I've always done that, but never felt the license to do it really. And so it's really nice to see masters enter that. Gives me more courage to also merge all these different facets of my practice.
That's what I love about Linda is that she's an artist, and she expresses her creative vision through various media, and that is, to me, extremely interesting. If tomorrow she can do sculpting, after tomorrow she could do I don't know, right, brush, and so at the end of the day, tech is just a tool. And that's, I think, what people forget. Just this afternoon, I was explaining what generative art is, and I didn't use the word NFT at all. But the person was using it again and again and again. And at the end of the day, I explained, listen, NFT is just a tool. Forget about it. It's like it's the MP3 to your audio, So so that's why I think Linda, as an artist, it's great that through these tapestries, rugs, and the work she's doing, we're talking about the intention, we're talking about the creative vision, rather than the tool. And it's great to see artists such as yourself, playing and experimenting and having this mixed media approach. It's perfect. So
thank
you
you
for that.
Thank you so much. And I think it's really what I think the blockchain and NFTs, like the ethos of it is freedom, right? Like it's the ability to be from anywhere, be anyone, do anything, and still find a way to sort of connect with other people in that work. I mean, there's a social media way of doing it, which is really like free labor for someone else. But NFTs is like kind of a mechanism to channel what you're making into the world, but also retain your agency. But I think underneath all that, it's about the freedom to do whatever you want. Like I never feel like I'm tied to a particular medium. I can't explore XYZ, or it's really like the only restriction I ever have is myself. Like, do I have the courage to do something or not? And often I find that like my wildest ideas are very received. And I think for a while in the beginning of Web3, it felt like maybe we had to keep the physicals out of the question. And prints were like the only thing we would allow ourselves to do. But now with like TRAME and what the work Isma and the team are doing, we're starting to see that we also don't have to limit ourselves to the screen. Like there's a beautiful sort of like continuation of what we're starting in this space, a beautiful agency we've given ourselves to actually explore everything else. Like I've been doing this thing where I make sketches in P5 and then I paint them just like for fun. But I don't think I could explain that to any gallery, but I could totally explain it to someone at Web3. Right? Like everyone in this room totally gets it. But like, so this is like, I think the best place and the best environment for these kinds of alchemies to be discovered and encouraged, and hopefully expand what we think of like as an artistic practice and how we support that.
And that's perfect. I think that one of the coolest things about being in Marfa was talking to so many collectors that would consider themselves physical piece collectors, whether it was sculptures, whether it was truly canvas on a wall. And I can't tell you how many times in the first hour people would ask each other, okay, so what brings you out to Marfa? What got you into the space? And it was really, I ran out of wall space. I don't have any more room on my walls at home to buy physical art. And so that made me learn about digital art, and I can collect it in these digital ways and connect it in these new mediums. And so that was the coolest thing on the collector side, seeing that art doesn't have to be limited to your space. And then when you flip it on the creator side, that, one of the challenges I always had in the beginning of this whole NFT boom was it's like, well, digital art isn't real art. And it's just like, well, when we went from stone to the paintbrush, like that was an innovation of a tool and a different medium. And so why are these not all just mediums? And so I'm glad to see more love and attention and respect being paid to the different types of mediums. And then, of course, the last thing I'll say on this is there's this mindset where I guess as society, we want our artists to be starving and broke. Like we want the pain of the work, the life to come through on the canvas. It's like, yeah, they made this piece on their last dime and then it sold for this much, and then now it's worth all this money and the artist doesn't get any of it. And so as a fan of blockchain technology, as a person who's worked on it for many, many years, I love the idea of an artist being able to say, well, I'm going to continue to be compensated as this grows in value. Also, I'm going to be able to use a tool like the blockchain to connect with my collectors and to offer unique experiences. Like I know that I have a beautiful tapestry thanks to TRAME because of a digital NFT that I held, right? So that allowed me to have a physical in my home as well. And so I love it on both sides, understanding the opportunity to connect art and tech to bring culture digitally as well as physically.
You know, Harold, I remember our very first conversation when I was on the phone with you. I was in Milan, and when I told you about this idea, it was last year, I think in April or May.
Yeah, April or May.
Yeah, and I was like, I was showcasing the Navette tapestries in Milan, and then having you on the phone and telling you about what we should be doing for African and diaspora artists and all this, and we made it. Like usually this takes 5 to 10 years, etc. But the beauty of our space is that when you have a good idea, you have the support.
Yeah,
and that's why I think it seems easy for us to do this beautiful project, because whenever you have something that makes sense, the artists are on board, the backers are on board, the supporter, everyone is on board in order to make this happen, because it's relevant. And I think that's something that we should really how can I say, treasure in this space. And I think one other aspect, one other feature that you both mentioned is the permissionless feature of our space. Like we don't need anybody's approval.
right.
And I think Linda and I, you know, growing up in Africa, like in actually Morocco and Senegal, we needed permission to do the smallest thing. You need to ask for permission, you know. So for us, this is like such air and oxygen, like a bubble of oxygen, that we can imagine the wildest things, and we just need to overcome our own fear and make it happen. And I think that's that's something
That's
that is
beautiful.
unique, and that is why this permissionless feature is something that truly we need to preserve.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really beautiful. So what's next? What are we, you know, what's coming up next?
So we're going to based on the feedback and etc. We're going to refine the algorithms, and then we're gonna release Linda's collection, I think in early Q2 next year or end of Q1 next year, with the goal of showing this new generative design approach to tapestries, to rugs. The idea here is you can actually, if you are, same as we did with Navette tapestries, if you are an interior designer or a collector, and you have a certain colors, certain interior, you can generate outputs until you like something you want, and then we can make it on demand. And I think it's something that is going to change the world in the future for sure. So I think Linda's work is pioneering this. So that's what we have. And then we're skipping Miami. Unfortunately, I won't see you guys in Miami. I'm going to be headed to Macau for a Fortune magazine conference, speaking about the intersection of code and craft. And then, we're going to build on this, and we have some other collections and some other works that I can share at the moment, but we'll make sure to update you. So on our side, we're super busy, and we have to continue now and bring these collections to life soon.
Great. And Linda, will you be in Miami?
I won't. This year was a bit crazy for me in terms of releases and just all of the work that I've been doing. There's been a lot of work outside of the space as well. It's funny, Web3 gave me kind of a springboard for other people to get to know me. So I've gotten a lot of commissions from, hopefully, that I can talk about now. There was one with IBM that recently
Congrats.
unveiled. Thank you so much. They have a new office in 1 Madison Square. So a couple of artists from the space actually did murals for them. Myself, Zach Lieberman, Leander Herzog. So yeah, so I can't make it to Miami, unfortunately, because I was clinically burned out until I started feeling better 2 weeks ago. So I'm just taking my doctor's advice and resting.
That is more important, I think, as well, because sometimes we all get caught up in the vortex, and it's important to sort of take a step back and zoom out and just focus on
Yeah.
yourself. So
I will say it's a very good problem to have
it
as
is.
an artist in this economy. So I am very grateful to be tired.
Well, I'll be in Miami for all of you. We'll definitely be representing BDAC is excited to be partnering with Flow and their Project 54 tour, Project Dream, and Andreessen Horowitz Cultural Leadership Fund as well. I'm excited to have their support as always. And we're really going to be leaning into art, specifically AI and digital with some video content as well. So be sure to check us out. Our event is on December 3rd. And so maybe we'll share that with you, Ashumi, so you can share it with the folks. But yeah, I mean, we're excited to see this work continue. I mean, really, it's the beginning for us as a DAO. You know, since kicking off, Marfa was like our first big event, and then now we're following back up. We've got a team of amazing, dope, passionate collectors internally working to put that on. Chandra and Sunny and Judine and Temi. And so, yeah, you'll see us in Basel. And then, of course, I think, you know, if I could leave anyone with an ask is that we want to continue to do this work. We are a nonprofit. And so as folks are looking and finding ways to collect art or be part of our membership, you know, I'd love to share more about what we plan to build in 2025 and beyond.
I would love that. And, you know, Harold, you know, we can always share that with our community and our subscribers, even across the Future Plus newsletter. So please do send any events that are coming up our way, and we'd be thrilled to actually support this initiative. I think it's so important, and it's such a big, you know, core value for what it is we do as well, which is essentially, you know, bringing both sides of this spectrum together. You know, we do realize that across this sort of like technological, cultural evolution that we're across, you know, things are just so rapidly moving that we really now more than ever need to amplify voices, diverse voices from all over the world, and actually really give them the spotlight and the support that they need to be able to reach new audiences. So that's what we do. We're facilitators and connectors, and we're just along for the ride. Thank you so much.
And on that note, Ashumi, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for giving us this visibility and for supporting us. It's truly amazing. Thank you so much, Ashumi. Thank you.
It is my pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being part of this